The great Sam Darnold.
Jason.
Thanks for doing this,
How are you,
man.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, we're talking about the draft.
Yep.
Going back to 2018, and I can remember sitting in the draft room and just loving your story. I mean, just the whole thing. I obviously admired you as a player, but just your dad being a college football player, your mom volleyball and a teacher, your sister a great volleyball player, but then your grandfather, Dick Hammer, right?
Yep.
Basketball at USC. Olympic volleyball team.
Correct.
Then he becomes the Marlboro Man.
Marlboro Man, yep, captain of the firefighter squad in LA. So he did it all.
Yeah, talk about that upbringing.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible. Incredible to, my mom, like you said, is a teacher, was a teacher. She actually just retired a few years ago. Then my dad being a plumber my entire life, like just having that kind of blue collar background. And then having a wonderful sister who's 3 years older than me, getting to learn from a lot of what she went through in high school, and she was a good volleyball player. So just learning about like her recruiting process and just how hard she worked, she really taught me a lot growing up as well. But it was an incredible journey growing up. That maybe I didn't realize it at the time when I was in the house, but it was incredible to have the parents that I had and the sister that I had growing up.
And how about your grandfather, the influence of the Marlboro Man?
Yeah, he's a legend, right? He passed away in '99. I was born in '97, so I didn't really know him all that well. But like you said,
a lot of stories.
The stories and the legend was kind of passed down, and just to hear about him from my grandma on my mom's side. And from my mom, my uncle, my two uncles as well that grew up with my mom. So to hear the stories about him and just what an incredible human being he was. I think, he had all the accolades, he did all the things, athletically, basketball player, volleyball player, went to the Olympics, like you said, Marlboro Man, he was just an incredible person. First and foremost, though, and I think that's the biggest thing that I got out of it, learning about him.
Yeah, we used to refer to you as the Marlboro Man in draft me. Let's talk about the Marlboro Man today.
Sure, love it. I don't smoke though, so that would have been a big point of emphasis for you guys going into that process.
Yeah, no doubt. I also loved your high school story.
Yeah.
In this day and age, everybody seems like they're training quarterbacks since they're 6 years old, but you're playing receiver and linebacker early on in high school. You were kind of late getting to the quarterback position.
Yeah, no, I played receiver and I played linebacker my sophomore year of high school because there was a quarterback waiting in the wings, for that next step, and he was kind of the next guy up. And so, but I wanted to get on the field, and Coach Jaime Ortiz over there at San Clemente High School, he wanted me to get on the field, and that was the best way to do it. Was kind of that pseudo tight end receiver kind of position on offense, and then we played kind of a 3-4 system, and I was that Will Backer that was on the ball wrecking havoc, and I was about 195 soaking wet and going up against some of these Pac-10, Pac-12 linemen at the time that were in our division. Was not fun, but I learned a lot about myself during that sophomore year of high school.
Yeah, I bet. Also a baseball background, but the other thing that intrigued me about you is you were a basketball player, a great basketball player, and the correlation between basketball and playing quarterback.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say great. I was a good basketball player. Yeah, I could shoot it a little bit. And in the division that we were in South Orange County, I could post up a little bit too. But it was fun, man. It was fun playing basketball. Like, that was my first true love. Getting to play basketball as a kid. I just loved it, especially growing up in Southern California, being able to watch Kobe Bryant my entire life with the Lakers. He was really my idol. Just watching him to be able to compete the way that he did every single game, all 82 games. I felt like he was always competing at a very high level, and so that was always really fun to be able to watch him and then try to emulate that, whether that was on the court or in my backyard on the little hoop that we had.
Well, that's what we always said about you. Line one with Darnold, he's a competitor. Clearly, Kobe had a big influence.
Yeah, no doubt. That Mamba mentality, everyone talks about it now, but just seeing it, seeing the way that he played, that wasn't a huge, maybe it was a huge thing back then when I was a kid growing up about his mentality, but I didn't know that as a kid. I just saw the way that he worked, off the court, and then obviously on the court, just that kind of killer instinct that he had was incredible, and I learned a lot from that.
Yeah, let's talk about this. You go to USC. Pretty good memories of that, huh?
Yeah. I look really happy in that picture.
No doubt.
I'm just trying to, understand what's going on. We just won the Rose Bowl. That was a crazy game. We kicked the game-winning field goal, but I think in that picture, I'm kind of still processing a lot at that time. But
What was the USC experience like for you?
It was incredible, to first and foremost, like the people that were at USC, not just for football, but, the academics there, the faculty that was there, the people, the tutors that we had in school, like everybody helped us out so much at USC, and I'm forever thankful and grateful for those people that were there. And then, the football side of things, Coach Sarkisian being able to recruit me out of high school. Again, like I said, just forever grateful for that opportunity. Always wanted to go to USC, but when I finally, sat down with Sark and he offered me, that was kind of that realization, like, okay, this is a real opportunity, and so I was happy about that. And then obviously getting to know and getting to play for Clay Helton as well, the head coach, just an amazing human being. Someone who recruited me. He was the quarterback coach, offensive coordinator when Sark was the head coach. So he recruited me, and just getting to know him and his family throughout that entire process was incredible. And then, my teammates as well. I gotta, say my teammates were, some of them still my best friends to this day. And, I had such a great time at USC, off the field, and then on the field it just translated. We all had so much chemistry together, and I think you could see that in the way that we played.
Yeah, quarterback at USC is a big deal. Yeah. You're a young guy, and their fan bases that were saying "suck for Sam" because everybody wanted you to be the guy. How did you handle all of that?
I forgot about that. That's pretty crazy, but it really was just a one day at a time mentality. That's all that I could worry about at that time, especially being in college, with the school part of it. I was worried about getting my assignments in on time, getting my homework done, when I needed to after practice. There wasn't a whole lot of time to think about what was kind of going on in the world or what was going on with, my next step in the NFL potentially. So, we had a lot of people that were keeping us busy in school, and we weren't playing football or worried about watching film or anything like that.
Yeah, okay, great career there. Let's get to this. This is the draft report of Sam Darnold coming out in the 2018 draft. And these are some of my notes about you. I'm going to start with the negatives first.
Please do.
Okay, too many interceptions, couple too many fumbles, maybe too aggressive at times. Okay, those are the only orange things on this page.
That's fair.
Everything else highlighted. Okay, amazing nervous system, ability to improvise, great instincts, great when the play breaks down. Athletic ability, eyes are always down the field, mobile, tough, can make all the throws, great intangibles. Okay, but I get down to the bottom of the page. This is the thing that I thought was most important. Not affected by failure. Interceptions, bad game, he just keeps coming. And so I think about that now with everything you've been through.
Yeah.
Pick 3 of the draft, you go to the Jets, some lumpy times there, Carolina, 5th team in 8 years. How prophetic was that statement?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty spot on, JG. That's incredible. You were right with the negatives for sure about the turnovers and stuff, especially coming out of college. And I think I've worked on that a ton. But yeah, that's amazing. That scouting report is pretty spot on.
Yeah.
And
the toughness part of it, the resilience, the persistence to keep coming back. I go back to where we started, your family, your upbringing. That's probably where it comes from, right?
No doubt. I think my dad just, my mom and my sister as well, but my dad especially was just like, there's nothing you can do about the past. You can only affect what's happening right now. You can't, you would like to think you can affect the future with what you're doing in the present, but it's about what are we doing right now? Make that the most important thing. Because I remember, I would come home from football practice and it was time to do homework when I was a little kid. And I would want to talk to my dad so much about football and, can we turn on the game? Can we do this? And he was like, we're not going to do anything until you're done with your homework. And so homework at that moment was the most important thing. And so I think just, growing up that way, it wasn't, I think he told me a lot, that what you're doing right now is the most important thing, but more so it was how he interacted with me and what he made me do on a day-to-day basis. And it was really shown in his actions. He was such a hard worker. And then when he came home, my dad was up at 2, 3 a.m. every single morning, and because he had to go be in hospitals when people weren't there, when it wasn't, rush hour or anything like that. And, he was able to, he was able to come back sometimes at 1 or 2 o'clock. I was getting home from school around 3 or 4, and he was so eager to just be with me, be with my sister. And he was such a great dad and just such a great role model for me especially. And I can't speak highly enough about him.
That's great. Okay, so you're 20 years old, third pick of the draft, New York Jets. Amazing draft class. Think about Baker Mayfield, you, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, all picked in the first round of that draft. You go to the Jets. Can you describe for me what it's like to be a 20-year-old starting quarterback for the New York Jets? You're coming to Florham Park, and you're going to change the fortunes of this franchise.
Yeah, again, I really had the same mindset. It was, taking it one day at a time. That was really my mindset, and, especially coming in, learning the system, getting with Jeremy Bates, who was the offensive coordinator at the time in New York, and just learning as much as I could. I was very thankful. I'm very grateful to be with Josh McCown my rookie year as well, who was 40 at the time. He had a lot of experience in the NFL and with playing football, and so I learned a lot that year, even though we didn't necessarily have the result that we wanted, or even all 3 years playing in New York. We didn't have the results necessarily that we wanted to, but I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about the team and what makes certain guys click and how to lead better. So I just learned a lot about myself those 3 years, and even the couple of years that I spent in Carolina as well.
Yeah, it gets loud in New York.
It does.
Right? There's a lot of newspapers. Yeah. There's the Daily News, the New York Post, and
a lot of newspapers. Yep.
Pictures on the back, a lot of commentary. The birthplace of talk radio. How'd you handle all that?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it's my family and the circle of friends that I had growing up and in college as well. Like being able to lean on those people, and then having great teammates, and a great coaching staff to be able to lean on in tough times. Like, you gotta find ways to just worry about what you're doing and figuring out how to make what you're doing and your job the most important thing, because it is easy to kind of stray away from that, especially in New York City with all the things you're talking about. The city being one of them, great spots to go out and eat, have a great time. And then you got, the newspapers or the articles, all these people saying different things about you, saying different things about the team. So there's so many ways to get caught up in it, but it was really just about making sure, and I guess it kind of circles back to everything we were talking about before, but just what's the most important thing right now, and making that, the biggest thing that you focus on. And for me, it was just doing the best job that I could do to be the quarterback of the New York Jets. And that was all I focused on, especially as a young kid, because, if I worried about anything else, I would be doing the team and the organization a disservice.
Yeah, so you're the darling of the Jets. They pick you high. You're going to be the future. And then a couple years later, hey, Darnold can't play. We got this other guy, Zach Wilson's coming in. You get shipped off to Carolina. Mm-hmm. What was that feeling like for you?
Yeah, it was interesting. I think just, being in that position and trying to make things work. I mean, let's be honest, like my third year there wasn't great. I didn't have a great year. Our team didn't have a great year. I kind of saw the writing on the wall, talked to my agents about it, understanding kind of what the deal was. So I understood, the tough position that, I put the organization in, and, they made the decision to trade me. And, that was what it was. And, I went to Carolina and tried to make the most of the situation over there.
What did you learn in Carolina?
I learned a lot from your friend, Ben McAdoo. Coach McAdoo taught me a lot, especially that second year in Carolina. Joe Brady as well the year before. But Ben McAdoo, just the year before, the second year in Carolina, really, he honed me back into my feet. And I think that was the biggest thing for me, like tying my feet and my eyes together, and the progressions and how everything is just tied together. And that really opened up my eyes to timing and efficiency in playing the quarterback position. And, I have him to thank for, some of the success that I've been having the last couple of years.
You learn anything from this guy?
Did. Bake show, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys commiserating about your circumstances down there?
He's the man. Bake's the man. Yeah, we shared some stories, but, just to be able to be with him, to see the kind of worker that he is, it really pushed me. It pushed me to be a better player, to work harder. So I have, me and Bake obviously still in touch to this day, and I have a lot to thank Baker for. But he is, I think, above all else, he is just a great guy. One of the guys that you want to be around. So.
Yeah, 2023, you go to San Francisco, and I went out to training camp. Mm-hmm. I remember we were talking one day after practice, and I watched you during practice. Mm-hmm. And the ability obviously is there, the way you move, the way you throw. But what struck me was your spirit. Mm-hmm. You seem like in such a great place, loving football, smile on your face, and just really enjoying practicing ball, and maybe getting some of that weight off your shoulder. It's almost like you recaptured the joy of playing. Yeah,
I think, I think for me it was just a great opportunity to go and learn. And I understood that going in. I thought maybe I might have a chance to play with Brock's injury, the elbow injury that he suffered, in the NFC Championship the year before. So I was like, hey, maybe I might play a couple games and then they'll get Brock back. But, I was in a great position to just learn so much football, learn football from, some of the great coaches in the NFL like Kyle and all those guys that are there, Clint Kubiak as well, who's here now. But then learn from great players, learn from Brock, learn from Christian, learn from, Fred Warner, just all these guys, Bosa. Like, there's so many guys on that roster that you can kind of learn from, and just the way that they treat their body, the way that they act every single day. Like, there's so many little things that I picked up on there, and very thankful that I went there.
Great. Okay, you go to Minnesota, and you do get the opportunity to play in a really good environment. What's the magic behind Kevin O'Connell as he coaches quarterbacks?
Yeah, KO's first, I think there's kind of a theme here, but he's a great person. He's an easy guy to work with, a guy who isn't going to, he's not going to lead you astray. He's going to tell you what it is. If something isn't the way that he wants it, with my mechanics, with my feet, how certain things look, he's going to be honest with you. And I think, I appreciate that. I was able to get back with Josh McCown after my rookie year.
There you go.
I was with him last year as well in Minnesota, which was amazing. And guys like Wes Phillips, Grant Udinsky, like so many great coaches there. And then you talk about the players. I mean, you already said it, but, it was a really great situation to be in, with obviously Jets, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, like Aaron Jones. I can go down the list. The offensive line was amazing all year. The defense was incredible. So, I was just very grateful to be able to have that opportunity that I had last year in Minnesota.
One of my favorite pictures that I've seen in years was the locker room scene in Minnesota where they're picking you up.
Yeah.
And we had the shot of Kevin O'Connell on the side watching this whole thing happen.
Yeah.
And I literally got emotional watching it, thinking about all the stuff you've been through, how good a guy you are, but then fighting through all this stuff, and then there you are literally kind of on the mountaintop. What was that feeling like?
Yeah, it's incredible, right? I think, first of all, I wasn't expecting that at all. I was like, all right, we won the game, great. Just going in the locker room, celebrate with the boys, and then I get in there and they're lifting me up on their shoulders and pouring water all over me. But it was incredible, man. Just the squad that we had last year. Just an amazing group of people, I think, is what comes to my mind. And being able to celebrate that win in that locker room, it's all about the relationships that you create in this league and in life in general. And so just being able to, understand that moment, take it all in, and really, I think the biggest thing is just being in that moment. And I was really in that moment, and it was a special one for sure, especially just being on that team and understanding what not only myself, but a lot of people on that roster, on that coaching staff had been through.
Yeah, you'll never forget that for the rest of your life.
No, never.
Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, so you have a great year, but you get to the end of the year, and you have a couple rough games at the end of the year. Your team does, and you do. How much did those last two games impact your role in Minnesota going forward?
I'm not sure. I think first of all, I could have played a lot better. I didn't play nearly the way that I felt like I could have played those last couple games, and that's that. All the other things, I'm not gonna, try to act like I can control any of that. It was, the situation, what happened after, being able to sign here. I'm so grateful to be able to be in a place like Seattle. I'm sure you're going to ask about that next, but I'm kind of skipping ahead on you. But I'm just so grateful to be here, and that's the biggest thing I'll say about that. And again, like I said, very, very grateful for my time in Minnesota, but just happy to be here now.
Yeah, why was this an attractive place for you?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that kind of attracted me to this place was the coaching staff, understanding how tough it was to go against Coach McDonald in that defense, and then obviously Coach Kubiak, having experience with him a little bit in 23 in San Francisco. Just the scheme, understanding it, kind of what we want to get done on a down-to-down basis. That was a huge attraction. And then, the players, I think was the biggest thing, understanding that, we have a guy like Jackson here, JSN, who can go make plays. We've got great skilled players, running backs, tight ends everywhere, other great receivers as well that we've added since I came here in the offseason. But, yeah, just another great situation to be in, and I understood that before signing.
What's the balance between embracing your scars from early in your career and the lessons that you learned with, like you've said, living in the moment, having that kind of boyish innocence and enthusiasm that's so important to play at a high level?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is learning that and using, I guess, the scars, or the things that happened in the past that necessarily, didn't go great, to use those as tools when things aren't necessarily going well in the future, or, in other situations, whether it's, during the course of a season, you lose a couple in a row, like how to bounce back from that. All right, we lost a couple in a row, last year. And so there's a lot of experience that I can kind of lean on to help myself and my team kind of get out of that funk. And then, other situations as well that pop up in games, I can use, last week as an example in Houston, or when we played Houston, just, we have that sack fumble in the end zone. Not a great play. Defense scores a touchdown. And then the next play, I felt really confident throwing it to Jax, and we ended up completing, I think, a 20-yard pass. So it's just that mindset of understanding, again, it's full circle with our entire conversation, but things are going to happen, and you can't change that. And I think being able to move on from that, being able to understand that concept allows me to move on easily from things that happen, whether they're in games or in life as well.
Hey, you're an inspiration, man.
Thanks, Jason.
Love your approach. Big fan.
Appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.